Alright. What's up, everybody? We got Serral in the top right of this map, going up against Clem in the bottom left. And guess what? We got our hands on the replays from the EU regionals leading into Atlanta. Serral and Clem facing off here. It's the quarterfinals in the upper bracket. So I guess we don't normally call it the quarterfinals, but it's top 8. It's the quarterfinals upper bracket. We'll just go with that. It's top 8. It's a best of 5 match. And of course, Clem has been on a tear lately. He's been delving back into Widowmine play a little bit, rather than just turtling with siege tanks. For those who remember, Clem was the best TVZ player in the world for quite a while. And despite Dark getting the better of him a bunch of times, I think Dark really was the nemesis that stopped a bunch of his tournament runs, combined with, of course, Korean Protoss players. What really changed for Clem was that he actually gave up on just playing super momentum focused. Rather than just being in his opponent's face start to finish using mass Widow Mines, he started playing a very turtley siege tank focused style. And that's a good style, but it's more Maru's flavor. And Clem is not the late game god that Maru is. And as a result, he had much lower results for quite a long time. And a lot of people started to get down on Clem and say, hey, I think the hype was overrated. And I was there and I was kind of going, look, I agree. I think he could have better results right now if he played Widow Mines and he got more in his opponent's face with multi-drops and just played that really aggressive tempo momentum style that he is, you know, he's the best at. And it's because it relies on his mechanics. And he is one of the fastest players in the world. I think he's cleaner and quicker than Maru when it comes to micro. I just think Maru's better at handling kind of defensive situations, late game situations, messy situations. I think Maru makes better decisions than Clem does in those scenarios. But Clem, he tried to really hone in on the defensive style and evolve his play by working on that. And I think it, you know, I was standing up for him saying, look, yeah, he's going to look bad at it for a while because it's not what he's got success with in the past. But that's part of developing your skills as a player. He's still very young. And the worst thing he could do for himself as a player is to arrest his development by focusing only on what he's already had success with. It's a trap that a lot of us fall into with any endeavor. We go, hey, I'm good at this thing, therefore I'll just keep working on that thing. Because we don't like kind of focusing on the stuff that we suck at. But Clem, he put in the hard yards, really working very, very difficult for that. Pulls the mule off so he doesn't waste 25 minerals. Very nice. Yeah, and he got quite good at the late game macro, playing ghost games and that sort of stuff. I still favor Serral and Raynor over him in those late games. So that's kind of the problem for him. I know, well, maybe not Raynor, but Serral I do favor over him in the end game. But he used to be massively outclassed by Serral in the late game, and now it's a much more even match. And the fact that he's mixing in the Widowmine styles and the tank styles now feels like he's added a lot more range to his play. And before, I mean, the reason why... Ooh, gets a creep tumor. Friggin' nice play. So the reason why Clem was able to do so well was because he was able to grab the momentum. And Dark destroyed him just by backstabbing him to death. Every time Dark played him, Clem would start attacking and 50 Lings and Banes would smash into his wall and start killing all of his workers. And Dark would basically just wait for Clem to attack and then backstab the crap out of him. And it was starting to look almost easy. So Clem was like, okay, I need to be more willing to just sit back and wait for him to play this less efficient style where he's massing army and waiting for me. On the other hand, Serral's been solid as a rock lately. Interestingly, though, he's going Roach Warren. And that is fascinating. He's got Ling speed, but he doesn't have any Lings. He's only going 6 queens. Is he just going to play a mass 1-1 Roach attack? Obviously, it's been 3cc for Clem. So Clem's done a very greedy opening, and he's going Liberator, not Banshee. So Ravager Ling could have wrecked him here. And actually, is this going to be... Oh, this is going to be a massive Ravager Ling timing, is it? What? He's got so much supply free. He's starting to build Roaches. I think he's going to be building a lot of Roaches here and maybe go for a big Ravager Ling. The Hellions driving in, though, and they are going to see the Roach Warren in the wall. The Evo Chamber goes down to protect them. An Evo Chamber there as well to limit the movement. But, oh, Serral unable to get that one down in time. Clem's in. He's having a bit of a barbecue. Serral way too slow to be building these Roaches. If you don't build many Zerglings, then you need to start those Roaches way quicker. But Serral gets caught out. And now, I mean, he's losing 12 workers. A terrible start for him. He did not expect Clem to dive with those Hellions. But Clem is a player who will play by feel. He'll poke in with those Hellions, and if he gets a good volley off on your Zerglings, roasts a bunch of them. Remember, he roasted a bunch of them right there. He'll go, oh, I wasn't planning to run in. I was going to run away, but since I roasted all your Zerglings, why not? So he continued on and did massive damage. And as much as I think Serral might have been planning a big Ravager Ling attack with just how much supply he had free, the Roaches starting, after that attack gets in there and sees it, he's like, oh, there's no way. So he's going to go back to droning. And I think he's going to have to play Ravagers back into Ling Bane. And having a handful of Ravagers is always good. You can snipe down your enemy's units with it, but it's also something where you've got to be a little bit careful because, I mean, you're only up 5-6 workers here. There's already 5 barracks building. You've got tanks, marines just cascading out. No reason to go Widow Mines for Clem in this game. Against Roach styles, you don't want to open Widow Mines usually. If you do, you can't really push through the Roaches because the range advantage, the Ravagers can pick them off, and you kind of end up being forced to just do like a YOLO drop style where you're constantly flying in with big drops and trying to hit the mineral lines and basically just trying to catch the Zerg out of position. But adding a few tanks in the back gives you that ranged firepower, means the Zerg has to come to you. Infestation Pit and a double Evo Chamber. Serral, what are you doing, mate? What is this style? Is he gonna go quick Infestors? And does he go range upgrade here and actually stay Mass Roach Ravager Infestor, just try to survive? I mean, this is a good map with a lot of creep spread. It's hard for them to kill you. So maybe he's looking to just survive. He says, look, I'm behind. We're going to just try to get some Infestors. I don't think it'll be a quick hive. It could be. He could try to rush towards Lurker Tech and just play Roach Hydra Lurker. That is a good style for surviving. Something Dark did for a long time. We called it the Cave Bob style because he'd just fall behind with a crappy Roach opening and then end up winning in the late game. But that's Dark. And no offense to Serral, because Serral was one of the best players at making comebacks in 2018. But he's a guy who makes comebacks defensively. He's not a guy who makes comebacks by making these crazy maneuvers the way Dark and Raynor do. And I feel like, yeah, he's going for the Hydras. Oh, the Liberator tries to re-siege, but it's barely in Spore range, so the Liberator does finally go down. Let's look at that units lost tab. 6 Hellions, a Reaper, a Lib, 15 drones, 10 Lings, 2 Overlords. I remember a lot of those drones died very early in this game, so this is a very good start for Clem. And Serral's going to try to get to Lurker Viper. The problem in this scenario is if he doesn't get Lurkers up before the push comes, I think the Marines can literally stim through his Roaches. He can start a step forward into him, can Clem? Clem can win the game right now just by starter stepping into Serral's army. He simply has a better army, better quality, more units. Does he realize that? He should be able to judge that here. He actually has a way bigger force. Serral's army, very weak right now. And you see, yeah, Clem knows. Clem has great judgment for that sort of thing. And you can see if you don't have an Infestor or two to fungal the Marines, they can just gun through the Roach Ravager. The Infestors are very important with the style Serral's playing because they allow you to get to the hive, to the Lurkers, but he skipped that, trying to be greedy there, and when you already had such a bad start, that is not going to cut the mustard. Clem is overwhelming right now, and Serral taps out. Just 2 Infestors would have been a game changer there. That's why Dark used to always get 2 or 3 Infestors on the way up. Serral, though, a disaster of an opening. I got to go back really quickly for my own curiosity's sake and say, do we think he was going to push there with the Ravagerling? If he was, it was definitely a later push. But look at this. The Roach Warren's finished. He's got 2 more Overlords, so he's going to be at 60 out of about 100 supply, 60 out of 98. And he's just started building Roaches. So I think he was probably going to go for about 8 Roaches, turn as many of them into Ravagers as he could as he goes across the map, mass Zerglings behind it. The weird thing about that is that he's doing it off 44 workers. Right? That for me is really bizarre. On the other hand, if Clem doesn't dive with these Hellions, he doesn't find out about it, and so maybe he doesn't see it until it arrives on the front. So this sort of timing, it hits so late because you've built so many extra workers, which makes it a, on paper, bad timing, but it's much harder for Clem to read. So it's one of these ones where if Clem is being more cautious with the Hellions, you can imagine he doesn't understand this is coming. It sneaks out. His Hellions are down here. The Roach Ravagerling runs out the top side. It gets over here, breaks through his natural, wins the game, feels really unfair. The problem with this strategy is exactly what we saw, though, where it's like, well, what if he does dive the Hellions and you've just skimped way too hard on your Zerglings? And the Queens were so far out of position. I think we have to criticize Serral's Overlord positioning. I think this Overlord should have been further out so we could see those Hellions ahead of time. And just being a little light on the Zerglings. I think with these sort of styles, you want to have a few extra Zerglings, either threatening to backstab with Zerglings to try to keep the Hellions home so that they don't scout you, or a few more on the defense. But the moment those Hellions were able to just roast the, 6 or 8 Zerglings it was? Let's watch that one more time. Clem's just having a little poke. Serral absolutely should have pulled those Lings back, and he should have already had Queens here to greet them. For a player of Serral's caliber to not have Queens in position, this is unforgivable. This is a huge mistake. And I don't mean that because I'm saying, oh, it's unforgivable, Serral's so bad. I'm saying he 100% is internally screaming. How the hell are his Queens so far out of position that they're over there? That's a massive mistake. This is huge. Because the idea is normally the Zerglings are there to stop your Hellions running past the Queens. So at least 2 Queens should be out here hitting them. They try to run past the Queens, and then the Zerglings engage. Having the Zerglings just left out there unmicroed to just do literally nothing. I mean, this was really caught with his pants down. Uncharacteristic mistakes for Serral. Maybe he was too busy looking at his Overlord Scout and thinking about that. But these Hellions essentially won the game for Clem. Very well done. All right, a very nice game 1 victory, but he didn't really have to do anything special for it. More finding his opponent's mistakes and pouncing on them than anything else. Clem representing Team Liquid down here in the bottom right side. The young French beast up against the Finnish phenom. Serral in the top left going pool first. Now, that's cool. I actually haven't played much Zerg I haven't been playing that much Zerg on ladder recently at all. I forgot pool first is great on this map because the Reaper can get across so quickly by going pool first. You can pin them at home. And in general, just allow your expansion to get up nice and safely without having to lose drones to that early Reaper. So 16 pool, 17 hatch. Now, the classic 5 roach pressure from Lambo is actually exceptional on this map because it is such a short rush distance. The problem is that Clem is, much like Maru, they have an aura of invincibility. There's something about, I think really, there's a lot of players out there who complain about Terran being impossible to beat. Zergs, Protosses especially, right? They're like, man, you know, like I look at this Maru Clem game and it just reminds me how impossible it is to kill Terran. Now, I know there's already some Terran players screeching in chat. That's not the, no, Pig, don't even say that. I'm like, guys, calm down. I'm not saying that's the case. Take a deep breath. Emotionally fragile StarCraft players. The thing is, anyone who's not the very best, they die to a lot of stuff, but it's about the micro potential of small numbers of units, and especially manipulating this ramp. Defense on this ramp can be so drastically different. If you get a bunch of Hellions and Marines on top of there, and then you drill your SCVs through some roaches and surround them, you can just kill that so easily. It's such a great way to do it. And it's just the tiny little details with how players react and respond that makes such a big difference. Now, notice how Clem's leaving his SCV because he's worried about that roach push that I talked about. He's keeping the SCV here. Little does he know, Serral has snuck a super quick 3rd hatchery in the back, which is such a clever move. So he actually got that hatchery before this queen. So he's gone 1 queen into 3rd hatchery, then starts the 2nd queen, because of course the hatchery takes so long. And the thing is, Clem's here looking around going, oh, it's a 2-base opening. Oh, it's a 2-base opening. So he might start freaking out a little bit. Meanwhile, the Reaper couldn't really scout because he was worried about the Zerglings that could have always got in and snuck into the base. Back at home, though, he's got a Marine. His command center is finished. So he says, okay, command center is finished. There's nothing to defend on the low ground. Reaper can afford to go in. He sees drones there. And Clem knows that he's not in immediate threat. He does have a 3rd command center going down. He's going to build a starport there. No, 2nd barracks, sorry. Okay, so he's going to do the 3rd command center into 2-1-1. So Clem's going to go straight for double barracks, just Marines flooding across the map. Of course, for anyone just tuning in live, this is the round of 8 match between Serral and Clem. Here it is from the Atlanta EU Regionals. And what do we got? Zergling's going to come in. Oh, red hit point SCV right there. Oh, damn, that would have been nice. He's looking for the 3rd command center in the back. Interestingly, wait, why did Clem not build that there, guys? That seems like a pretty dumb move for Clem, right? Shouldn't Clem have just built it there and then been immediately mining and not have to lift it off? Or was that actually Clem just playing super safe? Because at the point he started this command center, he didn't know if there was going to be a roach push or not. And he was like, well, I don't want to have infrastructure exposed on the low ground because I might have to lift my natural and pull back up my ramp. So I don't know if this is excessive caution from Clem or him just forgetting that he could build that in the back. Since he's built it here, I think he might as well just take the front 3rd, get the full base going, as that's going to be a little bit more preferable in the long run. Roach Warren again for Serral. Oh my, okay, Serral really favoring the Ravager play, I think. You know what? I think the reason is that Clem's such a dick with his Marine medevac micro, dropping and just picking off units. So I think Serral's decided, if I have a handful of Roaches and Ravagers, you can't just chip away at me with your drops as much, because the Ravagers have good range and you're going to kill Marines very quickly. You can't just like kill 4 Zerglings, pick up, kill 4 Zerglings, pick up, drop somewhere else over and over again. They're also very good at of course, sniping down siege tanks. On the other hand, Roach Tech is, it's really bad in the long run, like the very long term, and it's a little bit inflexible in terms of mobility, so we'll see how we go. Hellions are going to be pulling on back. He does actually float it over here, yeah, so, and the thing is, you lose 2 SCVs floating that over. Maybe even more than that. by floating this over. So this is a much less efficient move. Being able to build your expansion on location saves you a lot of money, saves you a little bit of APM as well, allows your build to be tighter. But man, this is such a fast base here for Serral. Dude, I love Serral's economy. He's only going... Okay, he's going double Evo. Double drop's coming across, but he's already got 7 roaches. 10 roaches building. Man! I'll tell you what, guys. If Serral was playing a lesser Terran, I think he'd be happy with 8 roaches and 6 queens to defend a double drop. Because it's Clem, he's like, I'm building 12 roaches! He's not taking any risks. He's really respecting the fact that this is Clem, and those Marines, they can stim in and start focus firing roaches down very quickly. Gets one of the Marines, not bad. Pretty good way to start things off. And any hits you can get on these medevacs early is good. Notice he targets the medevac. Ah, no, he didn't, though. He didn't target the medevac, and he loses the queen. Sloppy play from Serral. And I really do feel that Serral feels a lot of pressure when he plays Clem. Same thing he feels when he plays Raynor. I don't think it's the mechanics of Raynor that intimidate him. I think it's the fact that Raynor's unpredictable and volatile as a player, and it's hard for him to predict him. But when he's playing here against Clem, I think he's a little bit intimidated by the fact that Clem can run away with games so quickly in situations where you previously thought that you were completely rock solid. And Clem's opening up this push path on the right side. Doesn't really get him in range of anything too important, but where are the queens, man? Dude, where are the queens right now? He's only got 5 queens. Serral should be damaging these medevacs. The roaches should be split up at least a little bit by this point, but man, he's losing a lot of mining time. His queens aren't even chasing the medevacs away. Look at this, 2 Hellions running in the 3rd. Clem is running circles around Serral right now. Oh man, Serral had such a good greedy start, but look at that, he loses a bunch of dudes there. Thankfully, he does split well in the main base. I mean, Serral had such a good early game with this fast 3rd and fast 4th. He's already on 70 workers. This damage is, honestly, I think it's keeping Clem in a situation where otherwise Clem would be falling far behind. As it is, I think this puts Clem in a very good spot, though, because he's got such a fast 4th base himself landed. Hive is on the way for Serral, but he's gone Ling Bane. So it looks like he wants to play Ravager, Roach Ravager, Ling Bane. He's going 1-1 range upgrades. I expect melee upgrades to start up after that. If you're going Banelings, there's no reason to just rush Lurkers here, is there? Definitely a weird strategic choice for him. Clem is going to go for a double drop out the left side. The creep spread really needs to get respread over there. How many queens are there in this map? Only 6 queens. So Serral playing rather light on the queens, which means he's very light on the anti-air as well. Oh, look at that. He spreads the roaches just to defend the tumor, knowing that Clem, of course, being a twitchy young boy that he is, will be trying to pick off anything that he can. Clem's got 2-2 on the way. His second factory's just finished as well. Where is that? There we go, at the front. He's got tank count starting to build up. These double drops being annoying. And do notice that the roaches and the ravagers, like we said, do a much better job of shutting the marines down and making them just pick up and leave, right? He grabs a roach, loses a marine, picks up. And it's a good trade for Clem, of course, right? A roach costs 100 resources, a marine only 50. Lings are already in the main. Some Lings, Banes, Ravagers here as well. Serral's doing a pretty good job of controlling everything. He's got +1 melee, +2 carapace on the way. His hive just finished up. 2 Vipers starting now. Adrenal glands immediately on those Zerglings. I gotta ask the question, though. What else is the hive tech? Is it just Vipers for the tanks? I mean, Roach Ravager Ling Bane can deal with Mass Marine Marauder just fine, so do you really need anything else? Maybe not. He's going to go Ultra Cavern. Serral going for the Ultras. I love Ultras. I think they're one of the most underrated units in the game. The only problem is that Clem's already got a 5th command center on the way, so he's going to be able to explode into Ghost production pretty early. I don't know if there's going to be that much of a window for the Ultras to really find big efficacy. We'll see exactly how Clem manages to just keep damaging the creep on this side of the map. How many queens are out? Still only 6 queens. And I actually think that's good for late game. Because as you get so many hatcheries, you don't really need injects. You just need to respread the creep more than anything. He's only got 1 spore up here. I really would like to see Serral try to get some spores up on this edge to zone that out. And some spores on this edge as well. Because it looks like he wants to kind of expand diagonally forwards on the map. Roaches are pushing some marines back. Serral's going to have to pull back. He sees here comes the big boy push. There's still a small marine drop on the north, but Serral leaving a pack of Ling Bane there. Let's bring up those control groups. 105 units on his main army, not to mention the 2 Vipers. He's also got a pack of 17 Lings and Banes in the top right, but it looks like he's going to bring those into the main army as well. He's added them all into 1 army key, which means this marine drop could cancel that hatchery. Serral's looking for the big engage. He wants to Blinding Cloud and win. Here we go. Vipers coming in from the left. Let's go! Big Ling Bane army comes on in. Some Blinding Clouds come in. They're not the earliest Blinding Clouds, but they are very well placed. And that is going to be spectacular. in the top right. It looks like the hatchery did get killed, maybe cancelled, not quite sure. There's still a lot of bio, and there's not that much Ling Bane, though, so he's got to pull back, make more Ling Bane. There's no lurkers, and there's no, no lurkers, and there's not many Banes, which means you really need those units. Vipers are going to have Parasitic Bomb available, but dude, this rock still being up is a big problem for Serral. Where's his Blinding Cloud? He's trying to bile the Siege Tank. He does take it out. Blinding Cloud goes down on the bio on the low ground. It looks like a good victory for Serral here. Pushes the army back, does manage to break through. The Vipers, the Adrenal Gland Zerglings as well, even though they are, of course, outmatched, only +1 melee versus +2 armor, they do great damage because Adrenal Glands gives them +40% attack speed, which means you can see those Zerglings attack 3 times a second. Absolutely insane. A Marine without Stim, just for comparison, 0.6 seconds is how often it attacks. So a Zergling attacks almost twice as fast as a non-stimmed Marine. It's a crazy amount of damage for a little half supply, 25 mineral bitey boy, but definitely something where the Ghost production, as it comes in, is going to counter the Ultras. The Roaches and the Ravagers will start to get sniped down. Clem did give up a lot of supply, though, and as he takes a Planetary down here, hey, the Zergling almost gets an SCV, but not quite. He's got, how many orbitals is that? 4. 4 orbitals, so no extra orbital bank for Clem. Even though Clem, I told you guys earlier in game 1, has started to play a lot of late game, he doesn't build the big orbital bank that Maru does. Clem still plays a bit more of a momentum-based style. Uh-oh, that's not the place where you want this command center to be built. It cancels it, does get some of the money back, but oh man, so many tanks in the open. A disaster for Clem. So much of his army was down to the bottom left. Banelings in the mineral line are destroying his face, not to mention all the Marines. Oh man, that was devastating. Completely unprepared for this move-in by Serral. And that's a game-winning move. Serral's got this one in the bag. I think Clem had the numbers if he was in position, but look at this. He had drops all out over the map. Roaches and Lings are just cascading in all over the shop. 30 SCVs go down, and the next wave, look at this. He's even got Roachling in the back of the base. The next wave, he's going to kill this Planetary in the bottom left. He doesn't even wait for it all. He's going to go in right away. With some bile spread across those SCVs, he definitely could take it down. You see that one? First bile already takes out a few of these repairing SCVs. The Lings, the Roaches, the Ravager, and the Ultra. Notice he gets the Ultra on the inside, going after the repairing workers. It finally falls, but that Planetary is going to go down. No building armor upgrade this early in the game. It's only 12 minutes. Clem losing that base. He's dead in the water. Serral, what a beautiful opening. That quick third hatchery, the Roaches and the Ravagers to deny Clem's ability to push into him and kill him. And then just a big swarming Ling, Bane, Ravager, Viper style. Adding Ultras in as the cherry on top of the cake. Didn't really need those Ultras, but they came in and helped out a lot when it did come to counter busting. Lings on the mineral line as well. Banelings flooding on forwards. Parasitic bombs on the medevacs. And Serral, what a beautiful opening. I love that third hatchery. Let's just really quickly check just how quickly did that hatchery go down. We were talking all early game about you have to be worried about the Roach push coming across the map behind the Zerglings while your Reaper's pinned at home, all this sort of stuff. Serral went for what was this, a minute 50? 2 minute? 2 minute third hatchery. So 19 drones, just 2 Zerglings, a Queen, an Overlord, and then bam, a minute 53 third hatchery. And then he was already taking a 4th base at about 4 minutes 40 as well. Beautiful opening by Serral. Even though he took some damage to Clem's harassment, really powerful opening and a great way to play Moondance. Got to try this build out myself. All right, well, that was a sick game too. I loved his opening there. We're on Cosmic Sapphire, a big map. So it's going to give him some room to breathe here. Serral in the top left, up against Clem in the bottom right. And isn't that the most Serral thing ever? I've actually talked about this for many years now. Ever since 2019 was when I first realized when Serral was on my WTL team. Whenever he plays the Terran-favored maps, the small maps, the rush maps, Serral always wins them. He has an insane win rate on small maps. Moondance is massively favored for Terran over Zerg, in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't actually checked the stats, but ask any Terran or Zerg which map they want. I'm telling you, if the Zergs weren't busy vetoing Stargazers, they would absolutely, in a best of 3, veto Moondance probably as their second choice. That's why we see, even in best of 3s, we see a lot of Waterfall. And you might be like, why do they play Waterfall and Inside Out? Those are pretty small maps with good push paths for Terran and great 2-base tank pushes. Well, the reason is because they're using their vetoes to get rid of Moondance, because that's a very short rush distance, and there's a free base in the back. But Serral utilized that perfectly, won it. The thing that makes me nervous for him is that Clem, I think, feels very comfortable in the big macro Zerg maps. Because what did he do in game 1? Third CC, Hellion, Lib, And just like he often doesn't feel like he needs to build the safety Banshee, right? He'll be like, no, just get the Liberator. It's way less investment than going Cloak Banshees. You don't need the Tech Lab on the starport. You don't need to upgrade the Cloak or build 2 of them. So it's a much more fluid transition. So you basically have Hellion and Reaper on the front doorstep. Next thing you know, you've got a Liberator flighting in, and he's so good at microing it. He very rarely throws that Liberator away. Remember, it survived for a long time in game 1. And then suddenly there's Medevac Marine hitting you earlier than normal because, well, guess what? Clem didn't feel the need to build a safety siege tank. He didn't invest in the Banshees. He didn't over-invest in the Hellions. Often he'll only go 4 or 6 of them. And that's all part of the beauty of why Clem is just so confident on these big maps. He's also the one Terran who his weakness historically has been not proxy barracksing very much, if at all. On the other hand, that may be a weakness in that regard. It means his strength is the fact that he plays 3CC 99% of the time, so he's very used to just playing big, greedy macro games. And here we go, once again. You know, it's funny because I feel like if Clem lived in Korea for maybe a year and played against the players there, we'd see a lot more variety out of him. But because he plays against these rather predictable kind of Serral-type players who, you know, in general, EU, the players are very averse to taking risks on the offense. They always want to take on the defense, you know. It's if you think of like the daring commanders throughout history who take big risk-taking maneuvers, that's Korea in general. If you think of the more conservative, let's just use our numbers over time and our macro advantage. I don't know, like maybe from my very simplistic understanding of the American Civil War, from what I understand, basically the Europeans do what the North did. They're like, we'll win in the macro game. We'll just, you know, we'll have more shit eventually. You know, we don't want to risk attacking too much. I think that's a massive. My 9th grade history, they didn't teach us too well, guys. So you might tell that's a lacking area for me. Hey, I said he doesn't need the safety Banshee. Clem's actually going for the safety Banshee this time, and he's getting Cloak as well. Oh, okay. All right, guys, so 1 Zergling's gone down. I gotta say, the creep actually got massively delayed. The dance that Clem does there is so annoying. Even though he didn't pick off any tumors, he just stopped them from being able to spread earlier on. And look at that, even that, he's like, nah. He's so methodical. Look, he's got Hellion split as well. You know, the Zergs figured out splitting their queens was the only way to get their creep out really well. Clem realized, okay, I'll split my Hellions up. And he often splits them up and just looks for any exposed tumors. 45 drones. It looks like a much more standard Ling Bane game for Serral. He's going Lair, second gas. We expect a Baneling Nest to go down next. Yeah. So he's going to go Baneling speed very quickly. And that'll also give him a nice quick Overseer to deal with the Banshee that's coming on the south side. Hellions are still there. I feel like Serral's got very conservative Overlord positions, but wait, no, he's got one on that pillar. So he does see exactly where these Hellions are. Oh, very good catch there for Clem. Serral was looking for that nice, fast 5-minute 4th base. Uh-oh. Serral's ready to put an Evo down if he has to. He does not want to lose that queen. He's been putting so many tumors down, he doesn't have a transfuse available. Oh, Clem goes too deep, though. Oh, but he's wriggling out of there. Oh, my God. Serral. Oh, you know Serral's a little bit annoyed at that. Those Hellions were so close to getting surrounded and trapped, but in the end, 1 Hellion for a ton of Zerglings, and that's very frustrating. 14 Lings. A drone, 2 creep tumors have gone down. He does still have a quick 4th base up. I don't think this is, you know, crazy game-ending damage. It's just one of those things where I always feel there's a little bit of frustration when Serral's playing Clem, where he's like, you know, he wants to just get ahead and roll over him and crush the game, but I do think there's a little bit of trauma of the games where he's thought he's winning, and then Clem just does some amazing micro, focuses all of his Banelings down, gets up on his production and wins a game where Serral thought he was way ahead, and that's why you've got to be a little bit worried. On the other hand, Queen's coming forward. Where's that Overseer? We know there's an Overseer nearby. Where is it? Oh! I mean, as Clem, you're worried because you're like, where is that Overseer? But it looks like it did morph pretty far away. There's 3 Overseers on the map. So 1 scouting here for Serral. He sees, yep, standard bio, but he also sees Reactor on the factory. Very important for him to see that. That tells him this is bio mine. So he knows it's going to be Widow mines parading across the map. Serral only starting melee. Carapace is the more important upgrade, because it makes your Lings and Banes actually get in on top of those units. He does start Carapace now. And a 5th hatchery, a macro hatchery, already down at 6 minutes. Great creep spread on the north side. Really needs to get this creep going on the south and up the middle as well. He's only got 11 Zerglings out right now. Serral, he's going to 73 drones, but he definitely needs to get into that Massling Bane production. His Baneling speed is almost done. Meanwhile, second factory's on the way, so Clem's playing Mega Macro. Expect a 4th command center to go down any second now for Clem. Does he risk building it on location? Here we go. There we go. 4th CC goes down. 2nd factory and 4th command center, both signs that the Terran wants to play a longer game, getting those down pre-7 minutes. Big preparation for the macro game. Army moving forward on the north side of the map at the same time. Marines, mines, and a few aliens backing it up as well. I wouldn't have minded the Queens going in and taking the Widow Mine shots, but you don't want to be losing the Queens necessarily. Queens are pushing back the Banshees on the left side. Overlord does get sniped down. Serral trying to replace his creep. He's a little bit wary right now. I do wonder, though, in this sort of game, it feels like a classic Clem game. And these are the games where Dark showed us many times that he's very vulnerable to Ling Bane run-bys. His 3rd is completely naked right now, but Serral has always had a glaring weakness in StarCraft in general, and that is the fact that he is so good at fighting front-on that he often will get stubborn, and he wants to lock horns with his opponent, and he wants to win a head-on collision. His backstabs, even when he does them, are way smaller and less committed than most other players. Finally, he's doing it. It'll take 5 of those Banelings to kill the depot, which means he'll only have 3 left to get in the mineral line, which means at most he'll kill 8 or 9 SCVs. If that was 12 Banelings, or if it was just a big pack of Zerglings, that could actually be even more effective in my opinion. Either way though, we'll see what he does. He does roll in on the front with some of the Ling Bane, and the Baneling run by rolls in, but oh, okay, 10 SCVs do go down, not too bad. That was about the most he could possibly get. As we said, the Baneling's doing a good spready through the Widow Mines. Some of the Widow Mines unburrow and then reburrow. Where's the Overseer? The Overseer was not in position. It's now arrived, but he's clumped up a little bit back here is Serral. Uh-oh, Clem in a very scary position. The Ling Bane comes forward. Great hot pickup by Clem. Saves the majority of his Marines. What a stressful scenario this is. Just the raw number of Widow Mines and Hellbats coming in is insane, and he's now F2ing to the front. Oh god, this is where Clem's at his scariest, but it's also where he's at his most naked on the defense. The moment Clem gets a position like this, you need to backstab him. You cannot fight him front on because he will win these trades. He will trade way more cost efficiently than you because he's a micro god. Not just that, he also has the better army. If he's able to bring his whole army to bear, it's a way better force. Lings are coming in though. Serral keeping some small backstabs going. They're still way smaller than I'd like to see though. Banshee comes in on the left side, starts hold positioning and picking off drones. Queens have to go deal with that. Oh man, Serral needs to amp up his run-bys. He needs to amp up his run-bys, and he needs to do it right now. Dark or Reyna would not be giving Clem this much map control. Serral, though, says, screw you. I have good enough spreads against the Widow Mines. I can just beat you in a front-on brawl. This is not something a sane person chooses to do. Serral, though, is not sane. He is confidence personified. He is an absolute savage when it comes to his just ability to feel like he can win any situation no matter what. Those Widow Mines do get set off there. Good job defusing those. He needs more Overseers, though. Does clean him up. Bigling run by on the left, but unfortunately a few seconds too late. The Planetary's up. Widow Mine takes out those Banelings. The rest just derping about, not really doing anything. Planetary defends on the left. Banelings on the right. Oh, Clem! 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 He had so much time to respond. He messes it up. He goes for his own Widow Mine drop, but look at that. Serral cleaning it up. Oh, Serral! Big boy Serral shutting everything down. And now he's got a bit more control. He's squeezing 9 more workers out. Wow. The confidence of Serral in this scenario. Absolute behemoth. He should definitely try to retake this watchtower, though. Clem is starting to gather his forces again. He's getting more Widow Mines, more SCVs rebuilding. Serral, he's going for the Infestation Pit. He's finally started +2 carapace. He forgot that earlier. Oh, good Widow Mine hit. Does take out 11 Zerglings. Let's see where the other ones land. Gets a lot of Zerglings, but that's the scary one. Oh, 13 Zerglings on that one. Despite all that, though, there was some friendly fire in there, and a good number of Terran units went down as well. The supply still looks good for Serral overall, but you just got to be wary that, because he's not respreading creep behind this, it's like, where are your Queens? They're coming down. Remember, they were defending drops and Banshees and all sorts of things on the left, and they need to be respreading creep on this right side. Every time you win a fight like this as Zerg, you need to be spreading tumors, and he's just not doing it. So you can tell Serral's feeling the pressure a little bit, and because of that, he's not doing things the way he should. Now, Clem goes for a double drop, realizes both of those medevacs are a few shots from death, thinks better of it, and unloads them as he should. Definitely the Banelings keep hitting the same area. I would like to see Serral actually split off about 30 Banelings and blow this Planetary up. Clem's in a very fragile position right now, where if you take out one of his mining bases, and then you just keep doing that, I don't think he can maintain pace with Serral. A couple of good Widow Mine hits get off. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, some decent Widow Mine hits, but Lings and Banes get in on the third. Another 6 SCVs go down. I don't know if Clem's ever going to be able to establish a 5th base with how all this is going. +2 Carapace is almost done. That very important upgrade that was missing for Serral about to catch up. His Hive's almost finished. Does he have a Lurker Den yet? No, he doesn't. I would love to see that Lurker Den coming in. It's a massive game changer getting a pack of Lurkers. Mass Baneling rolling in yet again. If Serral can distract him on the front at the same time, he could buy himself some big damage here. Clem! Oh no, Clem! Oh my god, so many SCVs going down. Yet again, another 10 SCVs falling. Meanwhile, on the front, Serral going for the big surround on this army. But, okay, doesn't have that many Zerglings left in there. He's going to respread some creep here. He's respread a bit of creep in the top side of the map as well. He's got a nice little army there. Serral needs a new base, though. He's got to take this base and start thinking about the gold, or he's not going to be able to expand that much more. Looks like he overwhelmed some stuff in the middle. Clem does save 3 full medevacs. Clem's got nothing right now. He's got Marines, Marauders, Widow Mines. He's got no Ghosts. He's got no big tech. Serral's going to attack this base, though, and with a giant Biomine army there, I can't say that's a good idea. Serral wisely pulls back here, picking off a few of the units. One of the Widow Mines for a few of his guys. Not too bad. He definitely can deny that base on the top. Burrowed Baneling! Oh, beautiful Burrowed Baneling by Serral there. Gets him to scan as well, even though it was a single Burrowed Bane. Didn't kill that much, but it damaged a lot of them. Man, he definitely wants to deny this base, though. The Burrowed Zergling that was underground gets scanned and revealed. Serral's going to try to attack in there, but Clem, he's done a good job of spreading his army across multiple sides of the map here. Lurker Den now starting up. There's a very delayed Lurker Den. That's a Rainer-esque Lurker Den timing, guys. A Lurker Den timing. So for those who are wondering, a Rainer tech timing is when you get it 3 minutes after when you could have got it because you're too busy fighting and having fun fighting. And that's exactly what that Lurker Den timing is. I might be exaggerating, not quite 3 minutes, but, you know, it's definitely a window that's being missed here. Imagine if there was 8 Lurkers already morphing. I mean, this army just cannot fight against the Lurkerling Bane. He doesn't have an answer to it. But he's building extra factories, command centers. He's got a Ghost Academy up now. These are all things that could allow Clem to do all right there. Looks like there's a Widow Mine in the bottom left. He's going to send a Spore down there. Widow Mine will take out another single Zergling before getting cleaned up. Oh, decent Widow Mine hits there. Ling Bane just going to roll into some of that bio. Forces them to pick up. Would like to see him clean up those Widow Mines. Serral, there we go. Yeah. Does take those out. Very nicely done. Clem's getting into Ghosts. Clem's adding command centers. Clem's getting into a very good position. Oh, the Banelings. They could block these 2 command centers. They're both big juicies. Big juicies. But he doesn't go for them, and that's a missed opportunity. Serral could have killed both those command centers. Would have been a worthy trade for that Ling Bane. These Banelings and Lings are going to roll in. Oh, well, look at the Widow Mine field. That's a big field of Widow Mines. Okay, the Planetary will go down. Great Parasitic Bomb, but Clem's spreadies are so quick, so smooth. The gold base in the bottom left does get cancelled. Serral has to pull back from that. He's finally got this base up, but he does need to transfer workers there. Remember that you do run out of bases on this map, especially if you can't take that gold. And letting Clem get this 5th earlier, I think, was a big mistake. Clem's just immediately going to float a new command center over. As Serral, your goal should be to just deny that over and over again. He's going into Lurkers. He's respreading his creep. He's got more Lings in the top right. Nice setup for Serral. The fact that he's respread his creep everywhere is good. As Clem, though, he's got, what, 5 Ghosts? He's about to be on 7. He's got 1 tank building a 2nd tank. He's still trying to build mass orbitals, but he's just not there yet. He does lose a sensor tower and a turret. Not to mention a few Zerglings burrowing on that. Going to be nice and annoying there. Does Clem scan for it? Does he just wait for the turret? The turret comes up. Is it in vision, though? It's not. It's just outside of vision. Ah, that's annoying. And does end up having a scan to land it. Well done by Serral. This one Banshee from the early game is up to 18 kills. It's still alive. Hydra says no. Does take her down. You see the damage output of the Banshee, though. It already gets that Hydra to half-life. 2 more orbitals morphing down here. Another one will be making there. Another one there. And Clem is setting up for the late game. Oh, Burrowed Banelings take out a lot of the Marine Marauder there. Serral's still got a big scary army. He's got Lurkers now as well. Vipers coming in. Don't let the Banelings blow up on that. He abducts a Ghost and a Siege Tank. The Lurkerling Bane shoving on in. Oh, big Widow Mine. Huge Widow Mines. Oh, damn. That was not the fight that Serral was looking for. And that was a great defensive setup. And I think we've got to ask ourselves at this point, Clem is so defended on the flanks. You've got to remember what Dark has taught us many times before. It's something we've learned in ZvT years ago. And that is in late game, when a Terran is very defended on the flanks with lots of static, lots of army, Up the guts is the weak point. And right now, these rocks into the natural, that's actually the most undefended area of the entire setup. And if you get on the production, Clem is in big trouble. So that's actually where Serral needs to remember to focus on. And this is something which players always forget about in late game, because you're thinking the flanks have got to be the easiest angle to attack. But then look at this. That's unassailable, man. The tank on the high ground, the Widow Mines. This north side is just an absolute orgy of death. There's so much Widow Mines, ghosts, bio tanks spread everywhere. Serral's still going to try and deny this top base, and that in of itself is a good move. He's also getting Neural Parasite for his Infestors, so that's going to be very effective as the game goes longer. But I've got to ask the question, where is the Broodlord transition? Because Ghosts on their own are not a very good answer to that, and Serral has enough money. And this is one of the most underutilized things in late game. So many Zergs only go Broodlords if they get dragged there. It feels like they're kicking and screaming the whole way. It's only once the Terran is kicking their ass in late game that they're like, fine, I'll make Broodlord Infestor. And then obviously they lose because the Terran has 14 orbital command centers, 400 Ghosts, Thors, and Vikings, and they wonder why. Lurkers are going to take out that tank pretty quickly. This is actually a pretty good attack for Serral. I like this move. He abducts a tank and a Liberator into the Hydras there. The Planetary goes down. 7 Banelings for 1 Ghost. A classic Zerg trade there. Doesn't feel great, but at least he gets rid of a command center, 25 SCVs. Like, this is, it's something. Let's look at the units lost at 32,000 to 23,000. So about 8,000 resources, 8 or 9,000 in favor of Clem. But the gold base is mining for Serral. I think that's acceptable at this point. He still really needs to keep the momentum going, because otherwise the efficient trading really does add up over time. Oh man, these Baneling trades are always a bit awkward though. Trying to get out of there, probably the right thing. I wouldn't have minded him blowing the sensor tower up there, just because that does cost a lot of gas, and it gives a lot of vision. Here we go. This is a good attack. Great attack. Siege tanks just get wrecked by Lings on their own, so we get some good damage. Serral maybe being a little too cautious here, but he's going to remove this base for now. This natural is wide open. Serral trying to defend on the north. The Lings and the Banes rolling in on top of this. Oh, nice hot pickup on some of the units. The Banelings and the Lings take out all the tanks, but a lot of the Ghosts get picked up and re-dropped. And Overseer's there. That's going to get sniped down, I believe. Is that the only detection nearby? Serral, I think, has to give this base up. He doesn't have any detection. He's trying to fight, but Serral can't see it. There we go. Overseers do come in. Never mind. He's got the Overseers. I think Serral might have this one in the bag, guys. He's got an Infested to the south side, ready to Neural Parasite one of those tanks. He's going to take out the Planetary. This is a huge victory for Serral. Serral holds onto his rich gas base, and he denies 2 of the mining bases of Clem. Clem, desperate to get counter damage, thrusts in the south side. He's actually sniping down the Lurkers. Wow, I did not expect that. I did not expect that at all. The Cloak doing very well. The lack of detection there is big, but Fungal could be good. Ling Infestor could do very well here. Oh, he did burrow the Infestors, though. Slight mistake there. The medevac does get fungled, but only after it saves a Ghost and a tank. The workers go back to mining on the gold. Clem is broke right now. Serral has this one in the bag. Beautiful play by Serral. 19 Banelings on the way, 6 Hydras. He's still got Infestors around the map. I love that he's added this into his late game. Serral just getting so fancy with all the details. And look at that. The Lings are going to take out both of those tanks. Unfortunately, that Infestor did go down. But, I mean, Clem's dropping mules. This base dies to 20 Zerglings, right? Right now, Serral could absolutely run in. He's going to attack the middle. Wow, I didn't expect that. And he does think twice about it. Mass Lingbane Hydra. I still think the natural is the best, most exposed area. Attack the south right into the natural, and you basically chop off the production of Clem. You chop his legs out from under him. He might still have this base and a decent army up here, but he's just got nothing behind it. And here we go. Lings on the south side. Serral crushing it. Yeah, very nice. Gets a few tanks. Okay, an army reinforces just in time. But look at that. The Lingbane annihilating this base in the northern side. Chasing after these ghosts. And woo! Fungal boy from underground. From beneath you, it devours. That there is a legendary catch. And dude, I always see those Infestors. And I'm like, really, Serral? Are we just knuckling down for a 30-minute game? And Serral says, dude, trust me, I will spread these Infestors out and I will get insane value. Delicious play from Serral there. Great movement, great positioning. I've got to stop doubting him. He is the defensive god. He can lock horns with his opponent as much as he wants, man. What a beast. All right, we got Serral in the top right now, going pool first again on Waterfall. Great map here to start with a pool first. Keep that Reaper at home. Clem, is he going to SCV scout? Team Liquid, of course, up against ENCE Esports. Love that Team Liquid's still picking up, you know, the best players over there, especially in Europe. Supporting young guns like Clement. Chat's all very reminiscent about fungal growth right now, thinking about the old days. Fungal was super broken. It used to be burrow fungal in the game in 2017 for a while, 2016, 2017. Back in Wings of Liberty, it did 48 damage to armored units, so almost 50 damage. And it completely rooted you in place, and it was instant cast, so it wasn't like a projectile that flew through the air. It just, you'd cast it, and it was bam. Yeah, I mean, I won tournaments despite having a still very limited understanding of RTS competitively. As a relative newcomer who was only, you know, a year or two into full-time play, I was already winning tournaments in my own region, but still, just off the power of it. And even now, the ability to unburrow and throw that fungal is still so powerful. It's still a great move. I love that Serral, he's so good at using it just to set up those little engagements, give himself that map control. Something we don't see very much is like random burrowed Zerglings forward on the map, just to see when their army's moving out and where it's moving to, but that can also be a really good move. Notice how Serral's going for the exact same build, almost. Maybe not the exact same, but very similar. I mean, it's not the exact same, but it's still a very quick third. Similar build to what he did on Moondance, where he just keeps the Lings at home. Clem's too busy hunting around the map with his Reaper going, where are those Zerglings? Where are they? And he does feel like he needs to go Starport, so I think we're going to be seeing a safety Banshee here. Remember that Serral hasn't actually hit him with a Ravager Ling or Roach Ling timing yet. And that's something which it looked like he wanted to do in game one, so I wouldn't be surprised here on a nice short rush distance map. We do see a big old shove. And I mean, seeing a Roach Warren in the wall doesn't even tell you anything, because Serral's been going for that Roach Warren every game. This Creep Tumor unable to spread simply because Clem is a freak with his control. That Reaper just trying to get around the Queens, looking for that Tumor. It finally spreads only once there's a second Queen out there. This is the only time Serral feels he can actually protect the Tumor. Ling speed is, of course, well on the way. Notice how he's still mining gas as well with 3 workers. He's building 3 more Queens, though. 6 more Lings on the way. Interesting. Maybe he just put back on gas. Banshees are making now, along with Cloak. This is the less efficient version of the Terran opening. If the Banshees can get in and do some good damage, it works out quite well. But Serral comes in with his Scout. He's going to see everything he's up against. And if there was ever a time to cancel Cloak and stop at just a single Banshee, this would be the game. And I think Clem will do that. There's actually a meta that happens where sometimes the Zerg in this scenario, when the Overlord dies, they don't build Spore Crawlers because they just assume the Terran player will cancel the Cloak and not make a second Banshee. That's like a funny little mind game. Notice Clem's not queuing a second Banshee yet. Overlord dies. And he does decide to queue a second one. Okay. So Clem's not going to play. He's not going to try and adapt. He says it's scouted, but that's fine. You still need to build Spores. I still can use those Cloaked Banshees. I got good value out of them in the previous games. Let's take a look at the control group setup. We've got 3 Queens here, and there's 2 Queens on the right. So he's got a Queen squad on the left, a Queen squad on the right. You can see Serral's vision's pretty nice. He doesn't like pushing his Overlords very far out, and I think that's just because he's been traumatized by Vikings picking off too many Overlords. So he likes his Overlords to give some forward vision, but other players are a bit riskier, like put the Overlord like here, out here, out here, really see everything coming way ahead of time. Banshee does Cloak and start getting a little bit of damage. Hellions are right behind it. The other Queens do start pulling from that left side to support. Banshee takes a little bit of damage there. Baneling Nest going up in the wall. Serral going to play straight Ling Bane this game. So no Roach Warren to be spoken of. We've got 3 racks. Factory building a tank. Oh, we accidentally lit. Yep, that barracks needs to land on that reactor. There we go. 3rd command center. The double engineering base should be starting 1-1 in a moment. Notice he's got 200 minerals and 200 gas. Clem does need to remember that, but he's a bit busy microing right now. Of course, there's a lot of things going on at once for Terran players this early, so it's okay to delay those upgrades a little bit. Ooh, Queen's getting a bit of damage on the Banshees, not something you want. And they're both down to just 20 energy. So very close to that one getting defeated. Gets 1 Tumor and then does pull back for now. Still no upgrades started. Clem's got to get that going. Combat Shield starting before 1-1 is a travesty, guys. That is a huge mistake for Clem. The first 10-20 seconds of forgetting your upgrades is not too bad. At this point, that's about a minute late. Look at this. His upgrades are starting at the same time as the Zerg. The thing is, the Zerg Serral rushed Baneling speed. When you rush Baneling speed in a lair, you're not meant to have upgrades at the same time as Terran. You're meant to be about a minute behind them. Instead, he's almost dead even. So Clem with an uncharacteristic mistake. Now, that doesn't necessarily change anything. Depending on when the big fights happen, based on the positioning and everything, it does mean, hey, maybe they still end up just on even upgrades and they would have been anyway. But if we see him fight just when his 1-1 finishes, and then Serral also has 1-1, Well, guess what? That would have been a fight where he had a double upgrade advantage if he hit those upgrades on time, right? So it can make a big difference. A double upgrade advantage in Marine versus Zergling is massive. It's a big game changer. Non-stop tank production for Clem as well. He's onto a third siege tank. He's going to try and push this left lane. The alleyway of death is what I call this area here. This chasm, as some would call it. But, you know, Clem is, as always, a zealot for battle. Always ready to fight the Zerg and try to push their territory back. But we'll see. Serral's going to try and combine his army a little bit. Maybe make a nice arch on to defend this area. We'll see what happens. I'll stop. Sorry, guys. I can't help myself. That's a good tank positioning because the Ling Bane has to attack around a corner. I always talk about it. When units have to go around a corner, they clump up massively for splash damage and they all get stuck behind each other. So Serral really should come around behind the corridor of death and attack from the far left. Right now, if he attacks from there, it won't be a good angle. But he's setting up for a slightly better angle. Notice he's coming straight south and straight north as well. Ooh! Big engage for Serral. Ling's taking out the tank on the right. The Banshee's taking big damage. Both tanks fall. The Banelings getting on top of the Marines. Both Banshees fall. Both tanks fall. And all of the Marines are forced to push back. Serral with an absolute smackdown. And guess what, guys? 1-1 upgrade would have been finished there for Clem. I don't know if it would have changed anything in that fight, but it would have been finished if he started those upgrades on time. As it was a 0-0 versus 0-0 fight. Serral adds a handful more workers. He's taken a fifth. He's on 80 drones right now, and he starts his 2-2 ahead of Serral. Or, sorry, ahead of Clem. Clem starts his +2 weapons and his +2 armor a moment later. But, man, I always feel like Waterfall is one of these maps. You look at the short rush distance across the map, you feel it should be a bit claustrophobic for the Zerg. But then you realize that the big wide open areas on this map are simply so good for melee units to simply surround and just overwhelm the opponent. And as a result, if the Terran loses a fight like that, I almost feel like there's a sinking feeling where it's like, oh, I'm never going to get a 4th or 5th base up, am I? Like, I'm going to take my 4th. It's going to get blown up by Banelings. I'm going to take it again. It's going to get blown up by Banelings. They're going to run in my 3rd at the same time. It's very difficult because these bases are quite spread. Even though the map's pretty small, this base is really far away from this base. That wall-in becomes a very vulnerable point where run-bys can hit you later on if you don't leave a few siege tanks behind it. And Serral's already poised on both sides of the map at once, so he's looking really good. Hive is starting for Serral so early as well. So he's thinking about getting to Vipers, maybe Lurkers soon after as well. Clem scouting forward with the Medivacs. He's getting a Sensor Tower on the north side. That's going to be very useful. He's got a big army. Clem's still trying to use momentum in this game. He's only on one factory. He's just going mass Marine siege tank. This is so committed. This fight will most likely decide this game. This fight will most likely decide this game. And if Serral wins it, he wins the series. It's a best of 5. Clem's tanks are out in the open. They are not hugging the edge of the terrain. So they are very vulnerable. Clem needs to get rid of these tumors on the left. If he could get rid of those, that would also just slow down the launch pad of Serral's army. Serral's going to go for it. Here we go. Giant Ling Bane Hydra engage. Clem has a lot of Marines in the back, though. Whoa, that's so many Banelings, though. So many Banelings coming forward. But all the tanks are cleared, and Serral says, that's enough. I just need to clear the tanks. You can have fun stimming into me again if you really want to. Those queens need to get out of there. Does not want to have those. But if you come deep on creep, my Banelings are going to eat your face off. Clem, remember, he's massively committed. And in a situation where he should be 2-2 versus 1-1, it's equal upgrade, soon to be in Serral's favor. Serral might actually get +2 carapace for the next fight. Oh my god! Okay, Serral posturing, but not quite going for it at the same time. A Ling run by in the 3rd does manage to waste a bit of mining time. It looks like the 5th base will go down. Clem finds some damage. Unfortunately for him, Serral's got a new 5th already started on that left side of the map, springing back up from the damage. Mass Ling run by as well. Uh-oh. That's a lot of Zerglings. It is equal upgrades, 2-2 versus 2-2. Clem quickly to F2A move his army back, and he unsieges, brings his tanks back. Problem for Clem. He may have a 4th base, but it's not even a planetary yet. It starts now. The slowest erection of all time, going to be getting up there. And he's trying to think of what his next step is. I mean, he's got a few tech labs. What is it, 7 barracks? He's playing 8 barracks, so he's got a few more tech labs to add Marauders, but it's still just siege tank production off one factory. So there's no second factory, there's no Widow Mines to deal with the Mass Ling Bane. It's just Marine, Marauder, and one tank slowly coming out at a time. The Marines there are in position, very well done. Clem can also counterattack with these Marines. He can move up that right side, use that as a bit of multi-prong pressure. Does save most of those units, gets behind the wall off. Oh, big engage in the middle. Serral's going to bust the wall on the left side as well. Banelings cleanse that army over there. On the right side, Clem is doing a good spready, but my god, the number of Banelings! The Marine Marauder does well, but that third base gets hammered, and that's what Serral was looking for. Blows up the depot wall, clears the mineral line. By the time Clem got all of his forces together, Serral does the damage, gets in, gets out. He says, in Finland, they teach us well, mate. There's a reason we don't have too many of those babies running around, mate. I know exactly when to pull out. Doesn't get too much extra damage done. And it's 77 workers versus 59. Clem, oh god, Clem goes way too deep here. A desperate counterattack turns into a terrible move. Loses a full medevac filled with Marines, a siege tank there as well. 2 more Vipers are on the way, plus 3 carapace. He's already got adrenal glands. Serral's adding all the details that he needs to. A Lurker Den would be nice, but he feels like just having enough Lingbane Hydra is the only thing. He's reestablishing control over that right side. A little bit more creep spread would be nice for him, but right now it's all about the engagements, and he realizes, hey, Clem is just so vulnerable. Look at this. This Marine goes out. Clem is like, oh god, oh god, oh god. Get units over to help defend that right side command center. Problem is, Serral's already realized he's spotted and pulled back, so he's just going to be a little bit more coy than that. He's like, I'll come back later and in greater numbers. And that's an issue for Clem because he doesn't even have a re-wall on the left side. Where does he try to strike next? He starts a command, so is he not going to try and strike next? Is he slowing down? He's starting plus 3 attack, plus 3 armor. Clem may be giving up on the momentum victory condition. He may be swapping into a longer-term game plan. He's adding concussive shells. He accidentally lifts every single barracks. Oh no, that is a bit of a nasty one. I gotta say, impressive that he manages to land those accurately as quickly as he does. The siege tank's getting abducted. 2 of them go down. 3 of them pulled to the low ground, and that is a whole lot of Baneling boys ready to burst on Clem's face. Clem, he's trying to siege the tank in the back. The SCVs may need to evacuate this mineral line. Oh, the command center gets killed. Serral, I mean, it's not the prettiest engagement, but look at the units lost tab. The fact of the matter is he's keeping Clem down at a small stage. Serral keeps trading, so he's permanently maxed, mining a ton of resources. Clem's struggling to defend 4 bases. And even now, a Lurker Den coming in as well. Because he's been abducting the siege tanks, Serral's realized, hey, I've got your tank count small. You don't have ghosts. If I just surprise you with 8 Lurkers here, like, bam, you can't defend that base. And if I kill either of these expansions, I know you're dead. So Clem's trying to build more command centers, but building them at the front like this, it's always a thing where once the Terran starts losing the game, they keep losing command centers, and that's a huge problem. That's also a huge problem. Look at that. Abduct into the Hydras. Oh, 2 full medevacs go down, and Clem, he already knew the situation was dire. And he realizes at that point he's got to go out with a whimper rather than a bang. And GG, well played. Serral there with a fantastic game. Nice series as well. 3-1 victory, goes through to the top 4 in the upper bracket.